early on, you and Benjamin were sitting there and you said to him, what do you think about Birmingham gangsters? 1920s. I don't think it's going to work. And then they sort of went off and did their bit.
Hi, I'm Cillian. I play Tommy.
Hi, I'm Sophie Rundle and I play Ada.
Hello, I'm Stephen Knight. I'm the writer of Peaky Blinders, and today we're going to be breaking down some of the biggest moments of the series. Opening credits.
He's a god, he's a man, he's a guru. You're one microscopic cog in his catastrophic plan, designed and directed by his red right hand.
Right.
Iconic.
Steve, tell us about writing that then.
I just wanted it to start in a way that no one was expecting. I wanted the whole thing to sort of be a bit of a Western set in Birmingham. So here is someone riding into town like they do in a Western. And you've never seen anyone like this, and you've never seen a story like this. So then it cuts to people speaking in Chinese, and the caption says Birmingham 1990. So the whole thing was to try and shake things up a bit for Tommy Shelby to look the part. We took Cillian to a gypsy camp. Do you remember that?
Yeah, you and me.
Where we went to my brother shoes a horse of some people in the camp, and they had a 12-year-old son who taught Cillian how to ride like a gypsy, like leaning back.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, we saw this kid jump up on the horse like bareback and then ride the horse, and it was the ease and the effortlessness of the kid. So I remember doing that, and there was a big, huge camera truck driving in front of me and behind me, and then we had all these flames. And at one point, the horse had done it loads of times, but at one point there was this, and the horse spooked and like did not like the fire explosions.
Did you stay on?
Yeah, I mean, it's that take that's in there, I think. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was behind me, I think, so my face is like ashen and terrified.
Yeah.
You don't see it.
Where secrets lie in the butterflies and the hummingbirds.
When did the music come into it? Was that always the plan? Because like never has it suited a world so much, a piece of music.
I don't know, but I remember thinking it was a terrible idea to put like,
oh no, don't tell
put
people
contemporary music with it. But I think and then all of a sudden that Nick Cave tune went on there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it was in the edit. The people who were editing were using contemporary music, and then it was like, why not?
Yeah.
And then you began writing the tunes.
Yeah. I always think if the music is contemporary, it's like a direct bridge to the emotion of the audience because they get what that means, and you get what Red Right Hand is about.
Yeah.
Why was it so important to introduce Tommy Shelby without dialogue?
I wasn't sure about Cillian with dialogue, guys.
My Brummie accent.
He looks okay, but can he deliver a line?
Yeah, exactly. Looks good on a horse. No, I think it needed that. So it's that classic Western thing, the mysterious rider riding into town, and you don't want to give away too much.
Ada stepping into no man's land.
What are you doing?
I believe you boys call this no man's land.
Ada!
Shut up and listen.
Have you lost your
I
mind?
said shut up! Now, most of you are in France, so you all know what happens next. I've got brothers and a husband here, but you've all got somebody waiting for you. Now, I'm wearing black in preparation. I want you to look at me.
That's so weird because I was so young then. It was like my first job. I sort of cringe when I look back, but that's one of the scariest things I've ever had to do. It came in quite late, I think, that didn't it? It was a kind of like a last.
There was a reason for that.
Yeah. Oh, really? What was it?
No, but I wrote it in a location to be shot in a location, but they said, but it worked better where it ended up. But I mean, if you were young and nervous, it didn't show you.
I just remember someone saying, by the way, you're just going to go in between them and then you have the speech and it'll be fine. I was like, what? What?
And I remember that idea did come in quite late and it was just genius. And then you nailed it. But like, it's when you're not overthinking it, you're just doing it because you have to finish the show. You're running out of money. You got to do it.
Exactly.
And sometimes those limitations create great work.
But I think that's absolutely the case throughout, and that is a great example because obviously we've been building up all the way through the series that the Kimber gang and the Peakies are going to fight. So I think I originally wrote it was like a shooter. You know, there's people getting shot and falling off, the way you would do it if you had the budget to.
Yeah.
And because you don't have the budget to do it, you think, well, how am I going? They're going to walk towards each other with guns.
Yeah.
How are we going to stop that
How do we avoid
breaking out?
Right, yeah.
And then that's when I thought, well, if you walk in with the pram,
Yeah.
end off.
And it speaks to that history of Westerns, you know, that storytelling. It's like the women in these communities and they have no other way of exerting change or control. So what can they do? When you've seen someone in childhood, it's a dynamic that you can't replicate with any other relationship, I think. Which is just adds such fodder for drama, isn't it? Who's this man that everyone is terrified of, or your little sister's not scared of you. And that's just cool, isn't it? And that's just so interesting. And I think that's a huge part of why people come to this show and relate to it. That kind of family saga, it does translate, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's completely universal.
Yeah.
If you put Peaky Blinders into the internet back then, there was one hit. It was like one
result. Yeah.
You have to scroll, and
Yeah.
so nobody knew. So we were just making this show. We all knew it was excellent writing and great actors, but no one had the sort of awareness that it was going to turn into this thing. So I think that if you had told us doing that scene, it was going to become this kind of iconic scene, you would have messed it up probably.
Like one of the people I was just speaking to said, you know, if you could go back in time and talk to yourself, what would you say? And I think nothing. I think it would have been awful to have known what this was. There's a freedom, the kind of like fun punk spirit it has, because everyone was a bit like, well, I don't know.
Hold your guns up!
That was one of the first scenes that got picked up by fans who then started turning it into their own videos. Now, the shooting of Billy Kimber is in virtually every single one. When you see somebody putting a music track and images, there's loads of stuff from that scene that feature in that. And when people started doing that, that was incredible.
What?
They were just doing it themselves. They were promoting the thing themselves. Billy Kimber's based on a real person who was called Billy Kimber, who was a Birmingham gangster who didn't get killed. He actually went off, believe it or not, and became Charlie Chaplin's bodyguard in Los Angeles.
No.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Honestly.
That's a
Because
spin-off.
I could bore you for ages on this. Charlie Chaplin was born in Birmingham on a gypsy side.
Really?
Which is not commonly known, but he was. And he knew Billy Kimber and he knew the Sheldons, who were the original Shelbys. He appears in one of his films.
No way.
Billy Kimber walks through shop.
And then doesn't Charlie Chaplin appear in one of the episodes? Kind of in
That's why. My one-man campaign to get it acknowledged that Charlie Chaplin is from Birmingham, which he is.
Now you've done it.
Yeah, he is.
Arthur taking over the club.
It's sort of the first time, you know, all the way through Peaky, wanted to escalate and escalate and escalate. So this is them breaking into London, going into the Eden Club and causing chaos and starting a fight and winning the fight, most importantly. And then Arthur goes up, attacks the MC, takes over the microphone and says,
This place is under new management. By order of the Peaky Blinders.
a lot of people remember it, a lot of people refer to it. Again, it's used in a lot of videos that people make themselves. I think it's Arthur being his most Arthur. There's a scene where Arthur gets hold of a completely innocent Quaker attacks him with a razor blade. I watched that with someone and she said, "Poor Arthur."
No.
I know. And that's the thing about the characters that I think is great, is that they do these bad things, but they carry the empathy with them. And this is one of those moments, I think.
Yeah, what I love about that sequence is, Paul is incredible in it, but also the big, huge fight. We wanted to make it as nasty and as messy. So it's ugly, you know? And that's another thing about the violence in the show. I think, like, there's consequences.
Yeah, exactly.
from it, you know, and you see people getting cut and then recovering, and like that time Tommy gets really, really badly, well, there's a few of them, but it's that horrible violence that you see sometimes on the street, and it gives you the shakes and the shivers because it's nasty. Like for them, they come from the First World War and that's all they know. So to them it's like a form of expression, but to watch it, it's nasty and ugly and really not glorious.
Was that the first time it's said by order of the Peaky Blinders?
No, the first time was series 1, when the first time I wrote it and thought this works was when the guns had been stolen in series 1.
Oh yeah.
And you say to Charlie, who's saying, just give the guns back, give it back, don't do anything with these guns that are stolen from the gun factory. And you say, you take out a set of keys and say,
The Tobacco Wharf, by order of the Peaky Blinders.
Tommy's execution.
Comrade, we have our orders. You know how it is. I know how it is.
Is my favourite scene of the whole thing. You know, all the way through the series, I wanted Tommy to be, in the words of Keats, half in love with easeful death. You know, he sort of wants to be dead because it's so painful to live. And here is this graphic evocation of death, and somebody's dug his grave. He goes into it and then gets out of it. I've written it so that Tommy has been taken by 3 UVF or UDA men. And they've got him, and they've got guns, and he hasn't. And there's a grave dug, and they're going to shoot him. And I just thought, what am I going to do? How is he going to get out of this? And then I thought, well, maybe one of them is actually working for Churchill, and he shoots the other 2.
At some point in the near future, Mr. Churchill will want to speak to you in person, Mr. Shelby.
So good.
But that was a consequence of shit. It's like when you paint yourself into a corner. I thought, well, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. And the actor who played the get out of your grave thing.
Oh, he was brilliant. Yeah, I remember that's one of those incidences over the years where reading that and going, well, that's the end. That's there you go now. Tommy's dead.
Yeah.
I remember I was reading it in the bath. I remember going, well, that's it. That was a good run. And then turning the page and going, oh, fuck. That's how we did it.
Nearly got fucking everything!
I nearly had effing everything. Is one of the lines that people have.
Yeah, that's another one of those, yeah. I think Tommy was ready. He was ready to...
Absolutely.
He was ready to go then, you know, and there's been several times throughout the show that he's been ready to have peace, and then it's taken away from him. And as he walks towards the camera and he's stumbling across the field, there's all that magnitude of what's just happened. He has to keep going. And it's just excellent writing and excellently executed.
For that, as I recall in the direction, was to make it look like the fields of Flanders.
Yes.
So, you know, he's destined to die in a field of mud.
Yes.
In a hole in the ground.
Where he should have died.
Yes, exactly. He escaped Flanders, but now it's going to happen to him.
Tommy and Grace's wedding.
Today, this is my fucking wedding day. No fighting. No fucking fighting. No fighting. No fucking fighting! Good. Get the fucking...
That is the one I get shouted at on the street.
Do you? People shout at you?
No fighting, no fucking fight. I'm just trying to go and buy some milk. I'm just, or maybe some eggs. There's no chance of a fight. Yeah.
There's so many memes on the internet of like mums saying that to their children. It's so true.
I always remember in the stage direction that you wrote, I remember with that script, it said, this is the angriest we have ever seen Tommy Shelby. And that was such a great gift to give to an actor. And he says, no fighting, then he shoves the guy.
Was that in the script? That was...
I can't remember. I think that happened.
Yeah, that did happen.
So
because somebody
funny.
walked past and Birmingham weddings, you know, the first rule, the thing that has to be said is don't start fighting, because often the blokes from one side of the family and the other side of the family have a drink. And
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's like anything. It's like war or any extreme situations. There's always humour in there.
Yeah.
It just is. It just happens. You know?
Especially when it's family. It's what it all comes back to, isn't it? This isn't an army. This is your annoying family.
Yeah.
It was all the working class Brummie lads, and you know, we can't show ourselves up by, and it was brilliant. Yeah.
Grace gets shot.
Should I go inside?
Yeah.
Oh, Angel!
That's rather a simple way of putting it. I didn't realise at the time, but the relationship between Tommy and Grace actually really stuck with the audience. They really went for that. One of the reasons is because she got shot. You know, if they carried on and started to bicker, you know, then it probably wouldn't have worked. It was a fitting end to that relationship. What I wanted to do is that Tommy has switched off all his emotions after the war because he's seen human beings broken up into their component parts. So how can you love that? You know, and then when he meets Grace, he allows himself to feel something. He allows himself to fall in love with someone. Bang. Almost immediately, she's gone. So that's when he goes back to what he was.
Like all the trauma and everything he's been through. And then when he thinks he's found something pure, it's just gone. And it's an amazing story engine for a character. Like, how the hell does he come back from that? And he never does really recover. I think throughout the rest of the show, he's still broken from that.
I really wanted it to be that he felt it was his fault because he gave her the sapphire, which is cursed.
Yeah.
And by doing that, a gift of love, that's what killed her. But I mean, obviously, if you don't believe in curses, then it's not, and it's ridiculous. But he does.
Yeah, that he's the curse. Yeah.
Luca's introduction.
None of you will survive. Your level of security is pitiful. And we are an organization of a different dimension. I could have killed you when I walked through the door. But you see, I want you to be the last.
Adrian Brody, he comes in as almost like, this is a provincial, local English gangster. I'm the real thing. I'm the mafia. I'm from New York. And he played it like that.
Yeah.
He sort of really played it as I'm the real deal. It was an important scene. It involved bullets rolling on tables.
Oh, yes.
It's always good.
Yeah.
It's all coming back.
Yeah, coming back.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that every series had its villain. And I think this was really strong with Luca.
Yeah, like it was an amazing coup to get Adrian Brody in the show. and he absolutely smashes it in that scene. And, the brilliant thing about Peaky and your writing is these wonderful, huge, chunky two-handers that you get throughout the series between incredible actors, and that was one of them. And it was a real kind of tete-a-tete between the two of them that continues all the way through that series. It was just such a gift for us to every season have these amazing actors come in and play opposite.
That was like one of the first times I realised quite what the show was doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You don't go on that kind of, it's season 2, 3, 4, and it's getting smaller. It was getting bigger.
Yeah.
And being like, Adrian Brody's coming to do, he's in that trailer? That's crazy.
Yeah.
The scale kind of went international then.
Yeah.
The show as well as it's Tommy, I think.
But when you think now that's two Oscar winners facing off.
My God, Oscars everywhere.
I know.
Ada can stand up for herself.
You're the sister.
Yes, it seems I am indeed the sister.
I did some research. You're communist once, but diamonds and lipstick now.
Actually, I'm a socialist.
Men bore me. Ada, do you have a man?
My husband died. But of course, we speak often. That's one of the coolest lines I've ever been given, which is, my husband is dead, but we still speak often. It's so cool. But, I just had a baby, so I remember very little of that. I think my baby was 4 weeks old and in another room, I think, there. So it's crazy to look back.
God.
But, the context of that was that, I can't remember why, but suddenly Polly was saying to Ada, you've got to represent the family.
Yeah.
And she really steps up.
Yeah.
And you think maybe she's not going to do this, but she absolutely nails it and really does give as good as she gets to these people.
And it's a great culmination because so much of her journey has been like, I'm not a Shelby, I'm not part of this. And that amazing thing of like, you just can't escape who you are and where you've come from. And I think it's her really embracing it.
She said the Shelby family are all witches and sorcerers who speak freely with the dead. So who is a Shelby?
I wanted the whole series to be about, can you escape where you're from?
Yeah.
Tommy sort of proves you can, but also proves that you can't.
Yeah.
It's always drawing him back. But the supernatural thing, it's something I sort of grew up with where certain things, my dad would bring stuff back and my mum would go, no, don't put that in the house.
Really?
Yeah, just straight away.
She'd feel it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and that sapphire you mentioned, that runs all the way through the show, like all the way through, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I think she grows up. I grew up. It was, how long have we done it for? Like 13 years? I was a different person.
I think it's a reflection that when you're young, everything's possible.
Yeah.
Because there's so many options. As you get older, there's less and less and less things are possible, and you start to accept stuff.
Yeah. There isn't anything else like that. She's impervious to any kind of charm. Do you know what I mean? There isn't that element, which is important.
Yes.
And she's not intimidated by him, so there is only the truth.
Yeah.
And that's a really valuable commodity.
Yeah.
It's a good line. There is only the truth, and it's a really valuable
Did I
Great
say-
line.
That's really good.
Tommy on a white horse. So he rides in on a black horse and then he leaves on a white horse. I felt it was such an elegant,
It was deliberate.
I know, but a beautiful, beautiful ending, kind of book ending to the TV part of the story. The Vardo has been burnt and he heads off on a horse because he loves horses, and perhaps he's heading off to the version of himself that existed prior to the First World War. You hear accounts of him being a completely different man, and I think it was really mythic and amazing. And it kind of left the story open for us to go and make the film.
Yeah.
That was kind of quite emotional doing that.
I mean, the imagery of the burning wagon is traditionally a gypsy funeral will be everything that belongs to that person will be burnt, everything. So that it's all gone and that person will never be mentioned again. It is his funeral, but he's still alive.
Yeah.
And he's on a white horse, as he learnt, maybe bad, has gone good. Before the First World War, people had really believed that technology was just making everything better. And it was, there was people getting cured of disease they didn't get cured for before. And then 1914, the same technology's blowing everything to pieces. And it's like, okay. And then we've lost the innocence. The innocence has gone. And that's who Tommy is when he comes back. He's this damaged soldier. And at the end, I wanted him to go off back, hopefully into nature.
Yeah.
Then the film happens and we find out what really happened.
Yeah. Which is much more human. Yeah.
Thank you for hearing our thoughts on some of the Peaky Blinders' biggest moments.
Yeah, not so easy, is it, eh?
Yeah. That's why you earn all that money.
No, you've got to say it.
Yeah.